Good day, brothers and sisters. And the news of the day is Hunter Biden indictment. Well, it's not of the day, of the week, of the month, of the year. What is it all about? Is he actually going to get his comeuppance? Is there any justice in the justice system in United States or in the Western world in general? We're here to help you discern because we're trying to get discern ourselves. He didn't get the deal that he was trying to make with the prosecutor before. It was rejected by the judge, and now he is charged with the gun, I guess, Second Amendment stuff. Somebody's going to flip it somehow. Glenn, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's starting to give a lot of people hope that justice is not just us, meaning them. It's separate than, because, law can only be lawful if it applies to everybody, even these so-called the leading class or the leading clowns. But yeah, like you said, big guy, a judge threw that out. No plea deal for this. If that was you and I in the court, we'd already be done. We'd be in there. But him? Oh, no. The good thing about this is that it gives the investigators more time to find other stuff. This is what the so-called deep state, the swamp, is really worried about, because it can expose a lot more. And it's going to lead to Papa Sleepyhead there.
Will it, though? I still feel like it's a damage control. I mean, remember, what's her name? Jen Psaki. Now she has a show on CNN, and that's how they get paid for all that good. I guess that's what you get for selling your soul, right? You get to work for the demon. What do they call it? Communist network? Communist News Network? But CNN, right?
Criminal News Network.
Criminal News Network.
Clinton News Network.
I mean, we have to have a rule of law, Mika and Joe. It's such a relief to hear that from people, including when it's about, as you just said, somebody who is very close to the president. I mean, first and foremost, the politics of this are a little hard to predict. But right now you have the president's son, somebody he loves deeply, somebody who has very publicly struggled with drug addiction, now facing these.
He also struggled with a cheese addiction. Remember, he said he smoked Parmesan cheese. So that's I never heard of anyone smoke Parmesan cheese before he did. So that's a whole. He also was successful in bringing cocaine to White House, using it, leaving a baggie in. Actually, he probably shared it with Kamala, and they left it. And somehow, with all those cameras, they were able. Sweep it under the rug. Oh, there's no charges. There's no big deal. It's just a bag of coke, and And now we hear Jen Psaki saying, "Well, he publicly struggled with a cocaine addiction, but I guess that's no one's bag." That's so. There's no charges that added to gun charges, right? Because then he's a gangster. Guns and drugs.
These charges, which are serious, and I'll let Andrew do a contemplation of the legality and the process and all of that, which I know a lot of us have questions on. What is tricky to watch here, and what I think we all will be watching, is what do Republicans do with this on the Hill as it relates to their impeachment process baloney effort?
I don't know what Republicans going to do with this, but I know what Democrats doing with this specifically. They trying to take, because notice he's only been charged with the gun charges, but he was not charged with FARA, Foreign Agent Registration Act. He was not charged with the tax evasion, Glenn. So those are the minor charges, because they can, he's just being a bad boy. He's a crackhead, he's into this kind of thing, He likes to smoke Parmesan and shooting guns, and they're trying to minimize the actual influence of Hunter Biden and his father, Joe Biden, and basically acting as foreign agents and doing all kinds of ruckus across the board, and here in terms of money laundering and doing all kinds of shady deals. So they're focusing on the guns thing, and that's why you see like a damage control, and even Jen Psaki covering the story on CNN. It's like, he loves him so much. He's just a poor, misunderstood boy. But that actually a distraction to take away from what really is going on. That's my assessment. Am I wrong in this?
Probably. And if he has to do any time, he would more likely would be best for him if he went to the state of Oregon to do his time, Because over there now, they've just passed a law that legalizes magic mushrooms for mental health. So they could wean him off the dope and just put him on those funny mushrooms so he can hallucinate some more.
Well, that's a good thing, actually. If they put him on microdosing, that actually can help him possibly to kick his drug problem. But here, like, I still believe all those things, and I know it's a distraction because, another thing that's happening right now is, well, they had a G20 meeting, like you said, and the Ukraine story is no longer the top story because the economy hit the rock bottom across the world for most of the Western world, including U.S. And in U.S., they started to rip and saw the fruits of it. Not only the COVID thing, now Ukraine thing, and everything else. Same thing here in Canada. But nevertheless, it does not stop Zelensky from coming to United States next week, right? He's coming to beg for more money.
More money, more printed currency to create more inflation.
And that's all happening at the same time as we know all those shady deals that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden did. But for some reason, we choose to focus in on a gun story. And the gun story wouldn't even exist if they would have respected the Second Amendment in the first place, right?
That's right. The governor of New Mexico, she wanted to pass a law saying no right to concealed weapons, and that was just struck down by a federal judge that was appointed by the Biden administration. So there seems to be a switch going on. It's no more or less inclined to be left and right. It's more inclined to be wrong or right. That seems to be the direction that we're going in. And you showed a picture of Biden there, the old man with Zelensky. A lot of excerpts, a lot of videos have come out. Biden is only about 3 to 4 years older than Trump, but Trump looks like strong like a horse, but Biden, he looks like he got ran over by the horse. Not too well. And if you think that's the true leader of the most powerful country in the world, and which is supposed to lead all the other countries, the free world, you're sadly mistaken. And this has to change, and it's going to change.
Well, it's like his cognitive ability is definitely not where they need to be. And that's an elderly abuse, right? He's being not only a puppet, but he's being, if it's still actually Biden, if it is the same person, I believe that still is. But, he did had a brain cancer. They had a brain surgery and all that stuff. They may not be even the same person due to his illnesses and all that stuff just for that. The fact is that people still have somehow talking about his reelection campaign somehow, and there's some kind of grounds for him to get reelected. It's physically impossible. He has a hard time now, finishing his sentences or even walking off the stage when he does his presentations. And, he has to be constantly guided like a puppet all the time, which is just the epitome of what the puppet is. We always said he was a puppet of in the globalist world, in its pure proof of that is just watch him do his thing. And now, we in Ukraine, by we, I mean the Western world, and the reason why I mentioned Zelensky coming in and begging for 24, what do they need money for? How are the money going to resolve the war? Well, what are they going to buy with the war? F-16s that they're begging for? How's the money going to help the conflict? They're not. So we know the money are going for some other reasons, right, Glenn?
This probably is going to be the last ditch effort to get some more money out of the United States, because it looks like we're going to be entering a government shutdown.
Okay, so that's the last ditch to launder some money. But if in your right mind, you somehow support it. If you're a government official, if you're a representative of the people, or you're that person who believes that whatever's happening in Ukraine between Russia and Ukraine is the story that's presented to you in the media, and Ukraine is not a corrupt country, and if you have a memory of the goldfish and you watched the news before the Ukraine war started, they would tell you that Ukraine was the most corrupt country maybe in the world. And the proof of it is in the pudding, right? So even this week, Ukraine's anti-corruption court and it's not even international or corruption courts, it's the Ukraine's anti-corruption court, orders arrest of Zelensky COVID-era health minister. I called it wealth minister because he probably
Same thing.
Same thing. He embezzled $12 million, and and stories like this happen in Ukraine on weekly, if not daily basis. But we continue to send them money, and that's somehow supposed to resolve the thing. I mean, money is one thing, but we also send them weapons. Is that how we stop the war, Glenn? I'm kind of sick of talking about the war.
I don't know, champ. You were saying he was the health minister of Ukraine. So in other words, he was the puppet of the WHO, the World Harm Organization. So now we see it, and now they took him down. Okay, you did your job. Okay, we're going to make it look like you were a bad guy. You're on vacation now for the rest of your life somewhere else. And thanks for the embezzlement, the billions of dollars.
Okay, so we're asking for $24 million. By we mean Ukraine, because we're defending Ukraine and we're all part of Ukraine. Billion dollars.
Big difference. Hey, $1 billion is 1,000 millions, brother. What a difference, man.
Well, what's happening here domestically, specifically in the United States with the automotive industry?
Because of inflation, now you have unions, unionized labor. They have a lot of power behind them now.
Political power as well.
Yes, and they're asking for big increases. On a previous show, I thought it was they want a 40% increase in their salary over the next 3-4 years. But actually, I'm starting to read that it's near 50% increase. They have it right. That would just be keeping up with the cost of living over the last 5 years. Okay, we know it. We see it here on the ground level. All your necessities, your shelter, your food, your energies. In the last 5 years, it has went up at least 50%, if not more. So, I'm not a unionist in the mindset because that's a form of socialism. But at the same time, yeah, you should be fighting for what is better for the worker, the working ants we call, right? These are the people that build everything, that build the life for the luxuries that we have. And now they're going on strike, and this is going to spread into Canada too, and it's going to spread to other industries because they're saying, hey, me too, us too, we should be going up in salary and income just to try and keep up with the cost of living. Thereby creates the conundrum problem of persistent, continuous inflation. So let's use the car dealership, the car manufacturing corporations and the dealerships and everything. So if their expenses to make the vehicle goes up that much, they're going to have to price that vehicle a lot more.
Okay, specifically dilemma with the automotive industry, right? Automotive industry is highly automated industry. The cars are basically built by robots nowadays. Even when I went to school 20 years ago, we had an example of Toyota plant coming to Virginia, and they brought in completely automated plant where it could build the car from scratch till the final product without a man involved at all. Maybe some computer engineers, supervising the process, robotic process. But they had to, hire something like 100-some people, so they add to the taxes in that particular district, right? Plus, it's voting, etc. So even 20-some years ago, the car could have been built already without involvement of man. What I see parallel with is the thing that is happening right now in Hollywood, right? So Hollywood is striking. And they're striking. I mean, they're gonna tell you, even the actors now join the writers' strike, and they're better because writers are being replaced by ChatGPT, by AI. The actors are being replaced by ChatGPT. All their bodies have been scanned for many years now, and if you want to put in Schwarzenegger in any of your movies, anything like this, you just go to library and pull up any of his body stuff, and you're able to recreate the movie. Maybe you pay Schwarzenegger, maybe you don't. But that's the point. The new industrial revolution is here, and people like Klaus Schwab they talked about it, that the new industrial revolution will have to do, like, it's going to be the war between robots and humans, and we're going to win. He never really clarified who we are. I don't know. So he may be an AI, as I, staying corrected or corrected. But Glenn, I think it's all part of the new industrial revolution, and destruction of the West is part of that. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm starting to see a picture like that too. It's detrimental to humanity. This is one of the reasons why we won't need so many more human working ants, because that's what they are looked at by these globalists. So, as we've said on many shows, there seems to be an agenda to really diminish the size of the population. And if you believe it's for the betterment of the planet Earth, to make it sustainable, that's just another mindset, belief system that's been implemented in your brain without you actually giving it any true thought yourself. Also, you were showing Hollywoke before. That's history too. That's another one. Like Disney, that's history. A lot of things are history. We're going to be changing, except the technology is going to make us change exponentially quicker than anything we've been used to up until now. When it comes to the car building, the manufacturing, the new electric cars have a lot less components, okay? And they're a lot easier to build already. The technology makes it a lot easier to build and less human hands necessary to build compared to the conventional.
Except cobalt mines, right, where they have to dig for lithium and all that stuff. They need those hands, preferably children hands, because you pay them even less.
Yeah.
Glenn, but I don't know, like, this is all leading, and that's why, like, places like World Economic Forum, and that's why they really focusing on building those 15-minute cities, because they're going to be modern day concentration camps. Because people are going to rebel if you're going to be limited in your capacity to be a human. You won't be able to face it. The money is a big component of our society. What can you do without money nowadays? Very little. Most of the money now people spend in the Western world on your needs, your housing, your food, your transportation, and then it's like a rat race. You need to make money just to be able to survive, really. So it's a lot of like sci-fi movies coming together, predictive programming, horror movies, in my opinion. There is a way out of it again. I mean, and I'm not going to stop, focusing on how do we get out of this situation, because there's definitely economy is crushing, and it's like you said, actually, Glenn, I'd like for you to repeat that. This seems to be the last summer we all had fun, right?
Yeah, I've been saying that for a couple of summers. I said, enjoy your summer, because you won't see one like this. But every new summer, it keeps getting worse and worse. We went through 3 years of a scamdemic, global warming, all the fires everywhere. Now we seem to be going in Plandemic 2.0. It doesn't see. It seems to be speeding up, and that's what's suppressing a lot of people. They see that they're getting depressed. They see from what they're watching all the time, they're formulating a picture that the future is nothing but negative and is depressing them. And herein lies the problem. I was just reading the other day, reading in the mainstream media, because I like to do that once in a while. Okay, it says, when is anxiety something you should worry about? That was the article. Like, what do you think anxiety is? That's you worrying. That's you worrying because you're resisting what is, what has happened or what's going. You're just resisting it. You don't like it, so you resist it instead of just being more accepting to it. So you're creating this friction within inside of you. And we're taught to believe it's not our fault. It's mental illness, and we should be blaming everybody else for our anxiety. because of our mental illness. It's not our fault. And I take the opposite side of that. I just look, well, how that mindset, how's that working out? There's more and more people who are committing suicide. There's more and more people falling through the cracks. So I said, well, this ideology, this way to betterment, doesn't seem to be the right way. You know what? We should embrace the power that we have in ourselves and start accepting what is and just finding ways to deal with it. Stop worrying about what might or might not happen and just deal with, whatever happens. Just spend your energy and dealing with it, and not just take credit for all the good things happen to you, but also take responsibility for the bad things that are happening to you so you can make adjustments. These are what winners do. Why do we fall? So we could learn to get back up. That was in a Batman movie. That's heroes think like that. Heroes think like that. Mm-hmm. And so, you could learn a lot about this modern day philosophies to help yourself, instead of going to see somebody who's trained just to put you on some mind-altering medication to turn you into a semi-vegetable, just barely, going by and not being aware that you're a spiritual being having a human experience. That's how much power that you have inside of you. Now harness this power for the good. If everybody harnessed their power and made themselves 20% better, wow, the whole world would be so much easier to get along.
I couldn't agree more with you. Thank you so much for actually bringing attention to mental illness. We started with Biden, who's clearly, both Hunter and Joe are not mentally all there. And now, as a society, if that's your leaders, and that's, maybe it's a good representation of the Western society. I mean, this is the people that represent, the mindless zombies, the crackheads, the law abusers, etc. There's nothing greater than a natural law. Like even before your constitutions, First Amendment, Second Amendment, you are still, like Glenn says, a spiritual being, and your free will is the most important thing that overrides every other law made by men. So my thing is, Glenn, I'm very thankful to have you in my life, that you continue to remind me about those things. And not only by your words, but specifically by your actions, by your disciplines to which you adhere on a daily basis. And brothers and sisters, I wish you the same. I wish that you have a leader in your surrounding that you can follow by example. The example that's provided to you on how to live your life righteously. And you can go and find those people in places like gyms, churches, maybe libraries. Maybe, I don't know, library nowadays is also a place for LGBTQ clubs. So I don't know if that's a good location. But there is a way to be a man. Glenn, I'd like to close the story with this sad story. There's a popular bodybuilder, and that's probably, I'm going to throw it at you. His name is Neil Currey. He died at 34. And he was not Mr. Olympia, but he competed in Mr. Olympia. I think he came fifth in 2018 before COVID. And now he's dead, unfortunately. And, the guy looked like he's in a great shape.
Good-looking young man, 34 years old, great shape. He was making prominence on the world stage of bodybuilding. He was loved by many and on his social media. Is a super fellow, but you know what? A lot of people, that's an image they portray. They're happy, everything's going great for them in their life, things are moving. They look like they have a prominent future, and they're very, very good at that. They're acting. And then on the inside, they're a complete mess. They're going through hell on earth. And a lot of people decide that that side is too strong, and they can't act anymore, and they just take themselves out. So unfortunately, this man, may have been also a little bit of the drugs. That level of bodybuilding, let's face it, there are a lot of performance-enhancing drugs used. And all these drugs have different passageways, and they affect the mind in different ways, because it's They are just chemicals, and the whole body works on chemicals, and it seems to throw things off. So if people have a tendency sometimes to go near the edge, well, a lot of these drugs will push you over the edge. Just because it's steroids, it's no difference between steroids, alcohol, hard drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, anything that's mind altering and changes a lot of chemical balances in your body. Sometimes the ramifications, the results of, are very negative, very bad.
So, but is that instant gratification even in such a highly disciplined sport like bodybuilding, right? So that you want to achieve results quicker with less work, kind of thing, less patience. It's easier achievable with the drugs versus pure competitive advantage, right? So I don't know, Glenn. I mean, we're still touching up on mental illness. Is the whole world is mentally ill? Like, do we need we don't need organizations like World Health Organization or whatever it is. We don't need FDAs to tell you this anymore. You can see the pharmaceutical and the consumption of mind altering drugs in the United States alone is the highest it's ever been, right? Almost like everyone is on drugs, right? Um, get back to your, natural way, right? What is the natural way, Glenn?
Well, when it comes to people, every person on the planet has a story. Now, we don't really know what the story is. We could hypothesize what it is because of the result. But all we really see is how they're dealing with it. Truth eventually comes out. And so this gentleman took himself out. He had such a future ahead of him. But this happens a lot. It's just that he was more known than the average. So, our brothers and our sisters, when you're thinking about taking yourself out because you don't believe you have a positive future, or you've lost your purpose in life, and you see nothing but negativity, you're in the storm all the time, well, that's when you need to talk to somebody who really has good intentions for you. Don't go see somebody who's going to put you on some drugs, get you all drugged up and everything. That's not going to make you better. That's just going to make it a little easier for you to manage yourself. Maybe it could be a good thing for a little while, as long as it doesn't become the norm, and it could help you get better. It's a temporary down, and you have to do that to find the way, but that's not the solution. We see people, most of the people who are committing crime in America, you have a diminishing of moral values in the West, and you have an increase of toxic violence. That seems to be moving away from the God ideology and moving towards the devil ideology. That definitely is not the way.
So you heard it here, folks. Brothers and sisters, get closer to God, discover Jesus in your life, and basically go to church. Or find somebody who can guide you on the spiritual way. Like I have my spiritual advisor here with me 24/7, which is Glenn. Thank you, Glenn, for being here. Brothers and sisters, thank you for tuning in to Alex Sass Show here at the Glenn Zone, and we'll see you on the next one.